Welcome to the Shabby and Man podcast. We are partners, parents, podcasters, broadcasters,
and everything else in between. Namaskar, dosto. Merry Christmas. Now, I'm saying Merry Christmas because even though this is coming out a couple of days before Christmas, it technically is Christmas. Everyone is off. It's holiday season.
Is there a name for the week before Christmas in the same way that the period between Christmas and New Year is Twixmas? Is there a name for the run-up to Christmas?
Yeah.
The holiday sale season?
Correct.
Well, I knew you were going down that route. It is actually our Christmas special. It is also a kind of year-end wrap because we are going to talk about a lot of things that people are talking about at this time. Although I think we might be able to get in another episode before the New Year, or is the next one going to be in the New Year?
No, we don't know.
We don't
get one in, we get one in.
Yes.
But I always look forward to Christmas. I enjoy it immensely.
Yeah, it is the one day you get to carve the turkey or the gammon or the chicken, whatever we're having.
All my cooking skills.
Yes.
I love the anticipation, the mise en place.
The what?
The preparation, when everything is in order, where everything is.
Oh, you mean everything that I do?
When I ask you to hand me the spatula, you know what to do.
Yes.
When I say to you, put another knob of butter in the sprouts, you know what to do.
Oh my God, yes.
So that's the mise en place, Just getting everything ready and organized in my head at least. And we've always done this.
Yes.
We always had a piece of paper.
We've had a chart.
Where we have the cooking times of everything.
Yes.
Because the oven is extra busy that day. And we don't have one of those professional ovens which you can only cook we've got two.
We've got three. We've got 3 shelves. So if you're making like 2 chickens or a joint of gammon, or would you call it a joint? A gammon joint?
Yeah.
Is that what it's called?
Absolutely.
A gammon joint, and we'd like to make. So I've actually over the years taken to making some of the veg on the hob. Much as it's lovely to have the carrots and the parsnips, roasting away in the oven at the same time as the chicken, and therefore getting flavored by all the fragrances that are coming out of the chicken.
Can I tell people the hob story? Because it is quite funny.
Yes, of course you can.
20 something years later.
Yes.
But do you remember when we first arrived in this country?
Yeah.
Obviously you never heard the word hob because it's not used in India.
No. We call it a gas
stove, cooker, cylinder,
gas,
or whatever it was. So I remember someone said to you, we just nearly arrived, and someone said, I put on the hob.
Yeah.
And you were totally taken aback.
Yeah.
We have a hairdresser's near us called hob, so you had no idea what the poor lady was talking about.
Strangely, I had never heard the word hob, but my mother knew exactly what it was, because when I went back and told the same story to my mum, that do you know what this is called in England? They call it a hob. My mother said, of course I do. So it's strange, but I'd never heard the word hob. So
you're cooking a couple of vegetables on the hob? On the hob.
I like to make my sprouts on the hob. I like to make my red cabbage on the hob.
And of course the gravy is made on the hob. A bit of red wine.
Also the mulled wine.
Mulled wine as well.
Yes.
This time with the mulled wine, are we buying one of those packet things you put inside, or are you going to cut fresh orange?
I like to combine both. Red wine, a bouquet garni of whole spices, and at the same time, these supermarkets have made life so much easier for us. If you don't really know which spices go into your mulled wine, they just give you a pre-packaged sachet that you can just drop in. I like to, even though I might use the pre-packaged spices, I still like to put fresh slices of orange and lemon. I think that lemon.
I'll tell you a very sad story about me now, like you, about your hob.
Yes.
But I have a set of knives from my hotel management days.
Yeah.
Which only come out once a year.
Yes.
They're pretty rusted now.
Yeah.
But I like to finely chop the parsley or the rosemary for the potatoes, and it's got a carving fork and a sharp serrated knife to actually we don't do turkey anymore, carve the chicken.
Yeah. And it goes on a special tray which has those 2 little spikes which holds the meat in place, right?
Yeah.
Whatever you're having.
So all these little traditions.
Yeah. Again, if it's something that is honored only once a year, it is something all of us look forward to. And someone asked me the other day, what's your most favorite thing about Christmas Day? I think for me, it has to be leftovers. Once you've had your Christmas feast, once you've celebrated, somehow piling your plate up again, whether it is later on the same evening or the next day, with leftover roast and Yorkshire pudding, which has got rubbery.
You always have to make a little bit extra.
Of course you have to make extra. You have to make double the number of people who are coming to celebrate Christmas with
So
you.
what is it this year? Is it glazed carrots and sautéed sprouts? Many people like sprouts to be fried and
of course.
sautéed.
I love to
Not
saute
just
them with a bit of
boiled.
garlic and butter. I love my sprouts with a bit of garlic and butter. You just parboil it, and then you finish it off on the hob with a knob of butter and some fresh garlic.
Well, that's basically our Christmas. But since I was a kid, things have changed a lot. Like when I was a kid, virtually everything was shut on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
Now, everything was shut apart from probably the local newsagent.
Yeah.
So you could run down and get a pint of milk and a packet of fags for your parents in those days, you know.
Yeah.
But now, KFC, McDonald's, the pubs,
by evening,
supermarkets,
a lot of the shops open.
Everything is open.
Yeah, it's only closed, I think, in the afternoon, because most people, even if you're working on Christmas Day, you do have Christmas lunch with your family, right?
That is also a big debate. Some people have Christmas lunch at about 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
Some people have it about 4
Yeah.
because they've had such a lavish Prosecco and smoked salmon type of breakfast.
Yeah, but not just that. I think that's what most people mourn about, that if you're getting the family together, if you're not all staying under the same roof, if you're waiting for people to arrive, by the time the food is served, it's always 3-4 o'clock, you know, so it's not really lunch, it's more like supper.
And of course now it's the King's Speech.
Early supper, the King's Speech, of course. So I suppose tradition is something which always, you know, is wonderful to come back to. And it marks the end of the year. It marks one thing that worries me a lot this year is the fact that Christmas is uncharacteristically warm. It's going to be, the Met Office has already said that we're not having a white Christmas. We can see that. Christmas week is going to be some 13-14 degrees. And
very warm for England.
Very warm for England. And I feel that kind of in one way or the other takes away a bit of the Christmas magic and sparkle.
True,
because Christmas is meant to be, even if you don't have that picture postcard snowing outside.
I agree with you, because I always think, Australia and New Zealand, their Christmas, in my mind,
it's a different vibe.
It's just not Christmas.
Yeah, it's just another party on the beach.
If you're sitting on the beach having a barbecue and wearing a Santa hat.
Yeah, but that's how they know it. That's how they know it. But for us, I think for this part of the world, in the northern hemisphere, where winter has kind of precipitated so many different festivals, you have Christmas markets, you have the lights. You know, they were celebrating, I think, 60 years of Christmas lights in central London, Oxford Street and elsewhere this year. And they put up little banners to give you a little history of why Christmas lights. Do you know why they first started, why the tradition started about 60 years ago? Apparently someone wrote in the newspaper, obviously after the austerity of the war, someone wrote in the newspapers in the 50s that, Christmas is such a dreadful time to be in central London because it's so gloomy, it gets dark so easily. That's why people flock to their homes, because you've got the Christmas tree and you've got a bit of festive cheer, which is what made the government, or whoever was in power, think that perhaps central London should be festooned with lights to welcome people to the shops and encourage them to
But now
buy.
Every high street has got Christmas lights.
Now, of course, it's a different story. But that's how all these Christmas lights originated. I know we take it for granted because we live in London and we pass those streets.
Many people come from a long way away to see the Christmas lights.
Yeah, absolutely. From Europe, from elsewhere, from India, from other parts of the world.
The same way that we want to go to Germany and see the Christmas markets.
Yeah,
and Austria.
It's a big deal, I know, the London Christmas lights. And we take them for granted because we see them so often.
But I remember in our Delhi days, we celebrated Christmas there. Do you remember we went midnight mass or whatever it was?
Yeah.
But so you know what? There as well.
No, but I was looking at some videos on social media, and Christmas has really arrived in India in a big way. I mean, Ambani's own virtually all of Mumbai's real estate. So they have set up, somebody posted a reel this evening, Christmas at Geo World in Mumbai. So if you live in Mumbai, if you're listening to us in India, perhaps you've seen the reel, perhaps you know what I'm talking about. Other than the fact that it's not cold, they've got everything from Santa's grotto to all the games and all the mulled wine and all the treats and things that you would expect at a Christmas market in the West, in a cold country.
Why are you surprised? They own Hamleys. They own the biggest toy shop.
No, that's why it's Hamleys doing. Very good. It's Hamleys actually rolling out the biggest ever Christmas party for the first time this year, and every Bollywood celebrity and their kid is obviously there. So now it really is, the world is becoming a global village where even celebrations which are rooted or which are known in certain parts of the world are no longer confined to just those parts of the world. Even though, like I said, Mumbai of course is warm, nobody's wearing a jumper. Nonetheless, other than that, they're doing all things Christmassy that we imagine Christmas to be.
Well, we're going to stick to our tradition.
Which
I'm
is?
going to buy the Radio Times and highlight what movies I want
I don't
to
know
watch.
why, when you can just get an electronic TV guide.
True, but as you said, tradition is tradition.
Yeah, that's true.
And I'm gonna watch wall to wall baking program, cooking programs. You know how they non-stop over the last 20 years. All the famous chefs have done something or other, and they just show them back to back.
Yes,
so you can dip in and dip out.
We've got so much more to talk about. I mean, our Christmas tradition.
You mean we might have a longer podcast?
We might have a longer podcast than ever.
Break tradition.
Yeah. Is there anything else Christmassy you would like to say before we dive into the world of showbiz and other things that have been on our mind for the last 2 weeks?
If it comes to us, we'll think about it. We'll say it.
So
that's why this podcast is on the cuff, on the hoof. If we think of something, we'll mention it.
We'll bring it in. Let's talk about a debate that has taken social media by storm in India 2 days ago, when Lapata Ladies, Amir Khan is the producer, his ex-wife Kiran Rao is the director. It was India's official entry to the Oscar, when Lapata Ladies did not make it to the Oscars shortlist.
It didn't make the shortlist, and there's been a bit of a backlash.
There's been a massive backlash against Amir Khan, and people are again coming back to the same debate.
Not just against him, against the jury members who selected the movie, saying, why did you select this movie when we know that the other movie,
Payal Kapadia's All We Imagine Is Light, is winning every award, left, right and centre. So this debate has again come back into sharp focus, and people are just playing the blame game, saying that, maybe Amir Khan was too
pushy,
powerful a person in showbiz to kind of ignore. Then there are people who are saying that, yes, much as All We Imagine Is Light is a fantastic film, it is a Western perspective, it's India seen through a Western gaze. Then there are people saying, but the Oscar is set in the West, so shouldn't that be the natural criteria? You are trying to appeal to a Western jury.
And time and tradition have told you what kind of things they like.
Yeah.
Now the only hope is that Guneet Monga has got a short film, which is the only representation now.
Well, and strangely, I also heard that the film that is representing the UK at the Oscars is also made by a British Asian. It's called Santosh. Have you not heard about that film?
No.
So it's a British Asian girl who's made a film called Santosh. One of the girls we love so much, Sahana Goswami, who we saw in Vikram Seth's A Suitable Boy, adapted for television on the BBC.
She's the one in Rock On.
She's in Rock On.
Yeah, I've heard about this now.
Plays the wife of a cop who's killed, and therefore she has to kind of somehow, I don't know how she ends up getting his job. That sounds a bit strange. I'm sure there's an explanation for it. But it is again something that celebrates the.
It's not a British movie. It's just a British Asian
director. But somehow I read, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I read that her film was picked up by Britain, by UK, as their official film.
Good luck to that.
And I believe it is on the shortlist. But again, I'll have to double check that. If you're listening to us and you know any better, please do reach out on social media and let us know.
So in a way, you're disappointed because you are more of a Lapata Ladies. Now it's very hard for you because you have had the privilege of interviewing both the directors.
Yes, that's right.
Payal Kapadia and
Kiran Rao. And I got it literally straight from the horse's mouth. I was able to ask them, what inspired them to make the film, what they thought was the USP of the film, how chuffed or disappointed they might have been when one was chosen over the other. And it was a riveting interview. I loved talking to both, but my personal favorite is Lapata Ladies, only because I just felt that Lapata Ladies reached out to a wider audience, and it wasn't just for your very, very art house
I don't know if I agree with you, because it reached out to a much further, wider Indian audience.
Yeah, Indian audience.
Which is not what the Oscars is about.
Yeah, that's true. Then, of course, this time of year, we also talk about various lists that do the rounds. IMDb revealed its top most reviewed dramas in India recently. And
dramas on TV?
On OTT, on streaming platforms. And not surprisingly, Sanjay Leela Bhansali's Netflix debut, Hira Mandi, came out at number 1. which is
That
also...
doesn't actually surprise me.
It doesn't surprise me because it was made on a humongous budget, 250 crores or something like that. And it was, for months and months, in fact, for an entire year, they kind of teased us.
Oh, yeah, it nearly got as much hype as Citadel.
Citadel.
Honey Bunny, whatever that was called.
Has
anybody actually watched that?
I don't know. I don't think it's done that well. But so Hiramandi was number one on IMDb's most watched dramas, most reviewed dramas in India. Strangely, Google Pakistan revealed its top 10 most searched things in the realms of showbiz. And on that list of Hiramandi was number one. Not just that, on that list of top 10, 8 of those films stroke dramas were Indian. There were only 2 Pakistani dramas that made that list. So Hiramandi clearly, got everyone's attention, especially in the subcontinent.
Tell us more. What kind of things made the Pakistani list?
There were only 2. I think one was Ishq Murshid, which was at number 6, and I forget what the number...
No, I meant what Indian things made the list.
Oh, there was Hiramandi, there was Lapata Ladies, there was Animal, because
all the big ones, the same things that happened.
Don't forget, Animal actually came out December last year, but when they compile these lists, it's normally until about the end of November. So December gets included in the following year. So that's how Animal. So all the things that India was buzzing about, they were talking about. They were clearly Googling and looking at the same things. But as someone who watched Hiramandi, and we were made to watch the preview months before anybody else saw it, the first 2 episodes.
I remember we keep it stum for about 3 months. 2 months.
Yeah. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I have to be honest, but I do also
take the
criticism on board, because many people are saying that factually it's completely incorrect. And if Sanjay Leela Bhansali went all out to kind of make it his own fantasy world, then he should have at least changed the name, because he's referencing a real place. He's referencing a real...
Hiramandi is in Lahore.
It is in Lahore.
And I think the criticism was that he made it more Lucknowy.
He made it more Lucknowy. It had nothing to do with Lahore. It didn't help that he kind of said in many, many interviews that I've never set foot in Lahore. He made it more Lucknowy, and even otherwise, factually, they were saying that it was nothing like the opulence that he kind of depicted in the drama. But I enjoyed it, I have to say. Also, speaking about showbiz, the world lost a great percussionist, a great tabla player, Ustad Zakir Hussain, recently.
And you and me both have had the privilege and the honor of having seen him a couple of times.
Many, many times.
On his own. When I was a kid, I used to have his cassettes,
Yeah.
As a tabla player, and with Shakti, with John McLaughlin and all, in the band.
Yeah. And we've seen him in Delhi, we've seen him in London, we've seen him accompany big names like Hari Prasad Chaurasia, Shiv Kumar Sharma, Rajan Sajan Mishra, vocalists, musicians. And I think
he was also an actor. He was in Heat and Dust, wasn't he?
And you can gauge just how genuine a person is or was, and how much he was genuinely loved by not just his peers, but by anyone who had the opportunity and the good fortune of working with him, from the kind of tributes that have been pouring in from all corners of the world.
And also from Rolling Stone magazine, foreign publications as
anyone who knows anything about good music, classical music, and institutions like the South Bank Center, Barbican, the New York Philharmonic Orchestra, anyone who's ever had any dealings with him.
For many people who are not into classical music, their image of Zakir Hussain, Ustad Zakir Hussain, is the Taj Tiad, isn't it?
Wah Taj. He says, Wah Ustad. He said, Arey Wah Taj Boli. Anybody who's like us from India will know what we are talking about.
Also, what do you mean, like us? Speak for yourself.
Yeah, well, you spent a long time in boarding school in the foothills of the Himalayas, as you like to tell people. Are you discounting the fact that is also in India?
That is true.
So I've been listening to so many interviews, old interviews that people are posting, interviews that he was also a professor of music at various prestigious universities in America, because he made classical music accessible.
Yes, I think he was in Berkeley.
He made it so much fun. He collaborated with so many people. So the 2 things that really stand out about what he's been saying. One, he talks about how when he was brought home, he's a Muslim, he was brought home. For a Muslim baby, they recite a few verses of the Quran in the baby's ear when the baby is first brought home, to welcome the baby and also to bless the baby. And he says that when I was handed to my father spoke out some beats in my ear, daginaki nikida, something like that. He said, my mother was livid and she said, what are you doing? You're supposed to be saying some prayers. And my father said, well, these are my prayers. And he says, don't forget, this is a devout Muslim saying that, I have learnt my vidya, my tabla playing. I've learnt from goddess Saraswati, from Lord Ganesh. They are my masters. And my son is going to do exactly the same thing as me, so I may as well start him young.
For anyone who doesn't know, Zakir Husain's dad was Ararakha.
Yeah, who was himself very accomplished.
Who used to play with Ravi Shankar.
Yeah, he was a very accomplished tabla player. There are many, many clips doing the rounds of Zakir Hussain with his dad in a Jugalbandi. And the second thing that he says, that, as much as I've traveled the world and tried to teach people and been received so lovingly by students all around the world, I always remember what my father said to me, which is that don't ever try to be a good master, just remain a good student, because your quest to become better never stops. It is a lifelong commitment and journey. So beautiful, beautiful things, beautiful tributes on Zakir Hussain pouring in. Also, 2024 is the centenary of two big names from showbiz in India, Raj Kapoor and Mohammad Rafi. Raj Kapoor, who celebrated his birth centenary, was celebrated last weekend. It was on Friday the 13th, I think, or Saturday the 14th. And Mohammad Rafi's birthday, I believe, is on Christmas Eve. Did you know that?
I know a lot of radio stations, a lot of radio shows are doing dedications to both these great men. Yeah,
it's actually amazing because they're both absolute stalwarts. And 2024 marks 100 years.
In 2025, it's going to be 50 years of Sholay. So already I've been hearing buzzwords of we're doing this for Sholay, we're doing that for Sholay. So it's going to be a great year next year.
It's going to be amazing because I think other than Sanjeev Kumar. Other than Sanjeev Kumar, we've still got Dharamji, we've got Amitabh Bachchan, we've got Jaya Bhaduri, we've got, we don't have Surma Bhopali, I think. Jagjit, he died as well. Even Gabbar Singh is not there. But I'm sure Ramesh Sippy is there. I'm sure I hope
Amjad Khan died just a few years later.
Yeah, I hope they get Salim Javed and, the team together and do a great, great celebration of Sholay because it completely deserves it.
That's something to talk about next year.
Strangely, none of these big films...
I have to tell this. When things just pop up in your head, you have to tell that story.
Yeah.
That we were lucky enough to see Sholay in Leicester Square.
30 years of Sholay.
With Dharmender.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
At a very special screening.
Yeah,
that's true. Staying with showbiz for just a bit longer, strangely beating any of the other overhyped big budget films, Stree 2 has emerged as the highest grossing Hindi film of all time, not just of 2024, of all time.
You sure about that?
Yes, Stree 2, they're saying.
It's beaten Dangal now?
It's beaten everything in Hindi, just in Hindi. And which is, I think, quite an achievement, because Dangal and everything, when they look at the box office collection, they look at the global collection. I'm only talking about India and in Hindi, not in any dubbed versions. Dangal also has added a big chunk to its revenue from the Chinese market. It was very, very successful in China.
I know that China is a new market. A lot of these South Asian movies are going.
I have
not South Asian. I mean these Tamil,
South Indian movies. Yeah, Vijay Sethupath's Maharaja was the decent South Indian film that released in China.
Any books you read this year that you want to talk about?
I read part 3 of Harini Nagendra's The Bangalore Detective Society series.
I have to be honest, I don't know.
A Nest of Vipers, and I loved it. I thought book 2 was a bit weak.
I don't actually know this author.
You don't know this author. Book 2 was a little weak. I just remembered it because you asked me earlier, I couldn't remember. Book 1 was fantastic. Book 2 was a little weak, but book 3, I think she's really kind of back with her magic touch. It's called A Nest of Vipers, and she's already working on book 4. She's a biologist by day.
In Bangalore.
And a crime writer by night. I've just started Nigel Slater's A Thousand Feasts.
That's not really a book. That's just like little
it's fantastic
excerpts of his cooking.
No, but it's got stories as well, because they're looking at it as his autobiography part 2. Part 1 was Toast, which came out many years ago and which was again brilliant. So this is almost like a concluding part 2 Toast.
I'm sorry, the reason I asked you this question was I thought you'd reciprocate and ask me which books I've read.
Oh, which books have you read? What have you been reading besides the Metro?
Besides the Metro, you mean the free newspaper that comes?
Yes.
That comes at news
Yeah, and you seem to be obsessed with the cryptic crossword or whatever it is.
Because I'm very late to the cryptic crossword.
Yeah.
I still don't know how to do them, even when I see the answers, because you have to take an anagram here and a clue. It's much harder than a normal crossword, but it's quite interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway, the book, and I think it's the book of the year everywhere, is and it really is a fascinating book, is Butter, which is Sako Yuzuki's book. I think it came out about 5-6 years ago, but it's just been translated and it's gone viral around the world now. We've read the English version.
Yeah.
So Butter it's actually called Butter, a novel of food and murder. And
that sounds interesting.
It's based on a true story about this journalist and how she teams up with this this cook who's turned a murderer. She's poisoned 3 of her lovers, and the journalist is fascinated.
So the cook is a woman as well. The chef is a woman as well.
She's poisoned 3 of her male lovers, and this journalist
has to prove it.
I know, wants to know why.
Okay.
And it's just
what is it called again? Butter.
Butter.
Well, then this must be obviously a book which must have faced stiff competition from Sally Rooney's novel Intermezzo, because I see that everywhere as being book of the year here, book of the year there. Even that's done very well. This is the same person who gave us Normal People, of course.
And this year for me it's all female authors, because she's my favorite Turkish author anyway, but Ila Shafiq, her new book, which scans centuries, I can't remember what it's called now. Is it called The Island of Misery Trees?
Could be.
Just a fantastic book. Yeah, that's something you'll enjoy. Anyway, those are my book recommendations.
Well, there you go. I think we should wrap the episode now, and if we do end up doing another episode of the podcast before 2025 arrives, then of course we're going to be talking about, I'm sure, our list of resolutions. That's also a tradition with the Shabby and Man podcast. We'll be urging you to follow us on social media. We'll be thanking you for making the numbers and making the analytics so much fun for us to look at. It's really amazing how a podcast can reach virtually every corner of the world, and we are always delighted and so grateful for people who take a moment to listen to what we have to say about things that float our boat, things that we are interested in and excited about.
Thank you very much, and in case we don't meet this year, have a fantastic Christmas and have an even better New Year.
Merry Christmas and a fabulous New Year. Until the next episode, look after yourself.
Goodbye now.